Part 14. It's never too late to say I love you. It is truly a shame when a young man who has everything to live for decides to take his own life. The family immediately feels guilty and thinks that they could have prevented it in some way. The spirit of the man is not only ashamed but finds it difficult to forgive and love himself once again. The following was just such a case. A young man returned to talk to his mother about the love he never realized until it was too late. Although there was an enormous amount of pain and heartache present, there was also optimism. It was one of the most moving readings, and the closest I had ever come to experiencing the true meaning of unconditional love. When love is so strong, there is no judgment. Talking to Heaven 163. When I answered the door, there stood a medium-sized woman with a beautiful smile and soft skin. She seemed to be in her late 50s, and she radiated a sense of peace and self-assurance. She was quite well-spoken and was down to earth about herself and life in general. At the start, she stated that she had never been to a séance and didn't give what I did a lot of credence, but her therapist felt it might help her to resolve issues from her past. She said that to live in the now, she was game to try anything. Besides, she continued, I like to look at all of my options. With those words, I felt an immediate kinship with this woman. She had a wonderfully charming personality and a splendid and refreshing sense of humor. She reminded me of Aunt B from the Andy Griffith Show. Of course, I had no facts or information regarding her or the person she wanted to reach. I asked, are you comfortable? She responded, I feel beautiful. With that, I began the reading. There is a man standing behind you, and he tells me to say happy birthday to you. Well, thank you very much. My birthday was 2 days ago. I continued, this man is very close to you, and he mentioned something about going to Africa or being in Africa. Does this make sense to you? James Van Praagh 164. Yes, it does. My husband and I spend a great deal of time there, and we hope to go back soon. Isn't that something? Do you have a son and a daughter? No, just 2 boys. This man behind me is telling me something about a son. I am not sure if he is your son, or talking about your son. I don't know. Hold on. I see. Your youngest son passed. Is that correct? Yes, that is. He is here. He is the one behind you. He is very perplexed because he can't believe we are doing this. Or, that you are doing this. That makes terrible sense. Do you understand about a collection of old tribal artifacts? Yes, my husband deals in antiques. Our house is just full of them. My goodness, this is quite amazing. I am given the name of Andrew or Andy. That is his name. We called him Andy. He was named after his father. He shows me a beautiful house and on the walls are beautiful oil paintings. They seem to be from all over the world. It looks very much like a museum. Talking to Heaven 165, that is correct. You are amazing. I collect art, mostly oils, and have a rather extensive collection. My goodness, I could tell the woman was trying to figure out just how I was getting this information. He is also showing me some sort of exotic material. Blankets or throws. You have them throughout the house as well. In fact, he shows them hanging on the walls. She shook her head. What is this about living in the back? Andy talks about living in the back. We have a guest house, and Andy used it as an art studio. He spent most of his time there. I concurred. That is why he is showing me such beautiful colors. Yes, I actually see an artist's palette. The meeting continued for at least another half hour with some incredible evidence of life after death. Andy described in some detail where he was and what he was experiencing. He is telling me that when he first got there, he was at a hospital of some sort. He said they helped him with his mental condition. He tells me that now he is living in an artist's colony where everyone is involved with their own particular artful expression. He is saying that he is meeting people whom he understands and who understand James Van Praagh 166 him. He is learning a lot more about everything these days. He then proceeded to talk about his relationship with his mother and how he died. Your son was a very sensitive person. I feel that he was quite unhappy. Not really unhappy, but rather depressed. I feel he could not keep his emotions under control. Did he take drugs of some sort? Yes. Andy was on medication prescribed by his doctor for a manic depressive condition. He was also a user of illegal drugs as well. Yes, I know he was on drugs of some sort, but I have to tell you that he definitely thinks there was a chemical imbalance, and it led to his death. He is telling me that he often told you he hated you. Yes, he did. You know, of course he didn't mean it. He was sick. Oh yes, I am aware of that. He wants you to know it was the drugs and his own frustration talking. He didn't see it from your point of view until he passed. He said you tried helping him for years and would never give up. He is saying that you never even raised your voice to him when he had done something wrong. The woman moved uncomfortably in her chair, talking to Heaven 167, then spoke. I don't know about that. But, yes, I loved my son. I realized he had a problem. What else is a mother supposed to do? I loved him no matter what and supported him. I jumped in, even through the rough times. From what he says, he treated you terribly, and you just took it. I understood what was going on. At least I tried the best I could to understand. I did what I could for Andy to make sure he was safe. I wanted him to be happy, but he was always a loner. I loved him and always will. His father and I tried our best, although I think his father lost patience. But in a strange way, I understood Andy. I felt as though at times I could see right through to his soul. I knew how miserable he was. I felt terrible that he suffered so. He is sorry about what he put you through. He has no need to be. I love him. The reading then shifted and was very emotionally charged as Andy described his own death. Your son is in the back of the house feeling very distraught. He is having thoughts of ending it all. He feels as though he can't go on. He keeps looking around at his paintings. He wonders what is going to happen to them when he dies. Then he just doesn't seem to care anymore. He feels so depressed. There is so much hatred of self here. James Van Praagh 168 feels unstable. Were you away at the time of his death? Yes, we were. Actually, we got back from our trip that afternoon. His father found him. Your son is showing me a field behind the house. It looks like a field or a long backyard. That is correct. This is quite incredible. I just don't know what to say, but that it is absolutely correct. I interrupted the reading to ask her if she was okay and if she wanted to continue. She said she was and that I was to continue by all means. Your son shows me a big tree. It looks like an oak. Very big and thick. He climbs up. Immediately, I began to feel my throat tighten, and I couldn't breathe. I instantly felt the death condition because Andrew conveyed exactly what he went through. At this point I stopped the reading and asked Andrew to please show me the death visually so that I did not have to feel it. I also asked my guides to please watch over this communication since the spirit was not able to control his death situation. After several minutes, I continued with the reading. Andrew visually impressed me with the scene of his death. Your son hanged himself from an oak tree in the backyard. He climbed up a ladder to one of its branches. Does that sound right to you? Talking to Heaven 169, Andrew's mother began to weep. She took a tissue out of her bag, wiped her eyes, and acknowledged the information is correct. I continued. I feel so bad. This is so amazing. I have rarely felt or have seen something this way. Your boy left his body from his head. Andy shows himself floating above his body. He can't believe he is dead because he feels so alive. He thinks he screwed something up and is trying very hard to get back into his body through his head. He can't do it, and he is getting very frustrated. He begins to cry. I was overcome by this experience. I kept telling the mother about the amazing vision I was seeing. After a few moments, I continued once again. Andy says he waited around not sure of what to do. He saw his dad find him, and he was so upset. Andy realized immediately that what he did was wrong. He felt badly for you and his father. He watched his father tell you and saw you break down. He heard your thoughts about how you always knew this was going to happen. He also felt your feelings of love. He felt quite horrible about the way he made you feel. Please tell him I understand. He says, thank you, Mom. Forgive me. I love you very much, and I love my dad too. I'm getting help here, Mom. They have some nice people who James Van Praagh 170 have seen to it that I get back to myself again. It was too hard, Mom. I explained to the woman that the spirit has free will, and it may come back into an incarnation at the wrong time. When this happens, a person will usually go through his life feeling a tremendous amount of not fitting in. I continued to say that her son didn't fit in because it was not the proper time for his soul to experience earth life. His soul had not matured enough to go through what had been placed before it. Very often, it is too overwhelming and the soul looks for escape. That is why a person commits suicide. The woman totally understood what I was saying. She informed me that Andy never fit in. She said, even as a small child, he seemed very different from his other brother and most of the children his age. In a way, this reading confirmed the concept of returning to earth too soon. The mother was so very pleased she had made contact with her son. She said that she hoped for a miracle one day, and that day had come. She told Andy that she would live the rest of her life with him in mind so he could experience a little bit of earth through her. I bid a goodbye to this woman and felt blessed that day for being in the presence of a wise, old talking to heaven 171 soul. She knew the meaning of seeing love in everyone and in every experience. My mother and father, one of the most devastating experiences a family faces is when another family member takes her own life. Not only is there an empty void that cannot be filled, but a never-ending onslaught of questions haunt them. Why did she do this? Could I have stopped her? Is she sorry for what she did? What will happen to her next? In any given year, thousands of individuals go through the devastating experience of a family member committing suicide. Although I am only one individual and am limited to the number of people I see, I receive much satisfaction when I am able to answer questions through their loved ones in spirit. In the following reading, I was also able to provide much needed insight into the motivation behind the spirit's idea of life and why she behaved a certain way while on earth. The information was valuable for the sitter for two reasons. It not only resolved her feelings about the suicide but provided answers to questions about her relationship with her parents, a relationship she had struggled her whole life to understand. A healing took place, and her life has never been the same since. James Van Praagh 172. I opened the door to a very attractive woman whose name was Nancy. She was quite charming and also a bit apprehensive and nervous. I immediately sat with her in the living room and spoke to her about what the evening would reveal. She explained to me that she was a little uncomfortable and spooked about attempting to make contact with the spirit world. I reassured her that there was nothing to fear or to be nervous about. I told her that I worked with the Christ Light of Love, and if for any reason she felt uncomfortable during the session, we would stop. Nancy asked what I meant by the Christ Light of Love, and I explained that it is a pure, non-judgmental love of the highest caliber that was embodied by the Master known as Jesus. This is the same love on which most Christian religions are based. I always ask for this light of love or light of protection when doing my work. She told me that she trusted me, and we slowly ascended the stairs to the séance room. After I said my opening prayer, I began. Nancy, an Egyptian guide who works with me, informs me that your family is present. He is telling me that the ones with whom you wish to speak are indeed here. Nancy stared at me with her big blue eyes. Her mouth dropped open, and she was speechless. Talking to Heaven 173, standing behind you is a lady. She is wearing a greenish dress and looks quite pretty. She has light brown hair. I could describe her smile as small but sweet. I know that sounds strange. Her eyes are a beautiful blue. She says to tell you she is all right now. Nancy continued to stare at me. I feel this person is a mother figure. Does the name Joan mean anything to you? Yes, that's my mother's name, and she died. And how you described her is exactly what she looked like. I think she is much younger than you remember her. Yes, she is telling me you have a wedding photo of her, and this is what she looks like in spirit. Yes, I was looking at it last night. Nancy wiped some tears from her eyes. She repeated how she couldn't believe it, how it was just incredible. I went on with the reading. Your mom wants you to know she has seen Margaret and Catherine. Margaret is her mother, and Catherine is her sister, Nancy replied. She also mentions the name of John. Do you know that name? Oh, my God, John is my husband. That's his name. Does mom see him? James Van Praagh 174. Yes, she does. She wants to say hello to him and to tell him to take care of you. Nancy was totally in awe. She shook her head in disbelief. Nancy, your mother gives me the feeling that she was quite ill before she passed. I feel there were a lot of drugs or pills. Does that make sense? Yeah, that's right. Would you know about your dad finding her? I think it was on the floor in the bedroom. Yeah. Dad found her. Your mom is feeling very sorry. She is asking for your forgiveness. She says she didn't mean to cause you such upset. I must tell you that I feel your mother was not mentally all there. Was she often depressed? She was. I don't know what it was, but mom was always sick. I mean, even as a child, I remember her that way. Your mom is apologizing for not being a good mother to you. Was she in and out of mental institutions? Yes, most of her life. She suffered from manic depression. I quickly responded. I knew it. She feels off center. She was someone who let life happen to her instead of making it happen. She is trying to let you know that she loves you very much and is sorry, talking to Heaven 175 about not being able to tell you this when she was alive. I think your mother didn't understand love and wasn't sure how to give it. That sounds so right. My God, Nancy, I think your mother's mental condition was responsible for her death. Did she kill herself? Nancy began to cry. Yes, I tried to help her, but she wouldn't let me near her. I think she was just too depressed. I tried, James, but first just didn't know how to handle her. Is there something I could have done to stop her, prevent it from happening? No, your mom was her own worst enemy. You could not have stopped it. Your mother would not have listened to you. Your mom didn't listen to many people. Nancy smiled and shook her head. Your mom is sorry she couldn't be a mother to you. She didn't mean to hurt you. She wants me to tell you she loves the animals. Oh, God, yes. My mom just adored animals. She has Skippy or Skipper with her. What is that? Nancy's eyes got larger, and her mouth dropped some more. That was our dog when I was growing up. Mom loved him. Oh, they were such good friends. Skipper used to sleep right next to her every night. James Van Praagh 176. James, can first ask you, is mom happy? I mean, is she in an okay place, and what will happen to her? Where will she go? I sent out the question mentally to her mother, Joan, and waited several minutes for a response. Sometimes when asking a spirit a question, it takes a certain amount of time to understand the question and then formulate an answer back to me. After a few minutes I said, your mother wants me to tell you that she has received help from another lady. Sort of a counselor. Your mother stopped her own life but not consciously. She really was mentally out of it. Since passing, she has been working to change her mental condition and to learn how to bring her own love back into her heart. To recognize love in herself. She is in a good place, very much like Earth, but more beautiful. She says that even though she is dead, she is not resting. Far from it, she is trying in her own way to make up for lost time. From that point on, the session took on a whole new aspect. I continued to give Nancy messages from her mother. She wants you to know that she is fine. She is with her family but still has work to do on herself. She knows that no one can do it for her, and she has to do it herself. Your mother felt awful about your talking to Heaven 177, Dad. She is going on about how she felt responsible. I don't understand what this means. I do. With that, Nancy started to cry once again. Okay, let me continue. Your father, is your father a gentle type of soul? I must tell you, as your mother speaks about your father, I immediately pick up the vibration of a man. He is standing next to me. Did your dad pass over? Yes, he died a little bit after mom. Is he alright? I need to know, please tell me. Can he hear me? Yes, your dad is alright. He is with your mom. He says all he wanted was to be with your mother, and now he is. He is talking about how different it all is where they are. He pictured heaven to be a place with angels and harps, and he hasn't found any yet. He is in the country. He is going on about how stupid he was. Yes, go on. This is very strange. Did your father ever like horses? Well, he grew up on a farm. I'm sure they had horses, but I'm not sure. At that moment I cut her off because her father told me something else. No, your dad says race horses. He used to love race horses. He gambled on them. Oh, my God, that's right. Every Saturday James Van Praagh 178 went to the track. That's incredible. Is he still doing that? He says he can if he wants to. They have such things there, but they don't exchange money. It is more or less done for the sportsmanship of it all. Nancy, your dad is saying to tell you he let you down. He is sorry, but he was so lonely. He let you down, Nancy commented. I understand, Dad. It was hard. Nancy, I don't know what this means. Your father is showing me a gun. It looks like a 45, but forgive me, I don't know one gun from another. It's a handgun, but not small. He shows it to me. He is also showing me a room, sort of a den. There is a deck and bookshelves all around. I also see a duck decoy. He collected them. Your father shows me a pool of blood, and he is leaning back on a chair. God, did he shoot himself? Nancy burst into tears and mouthed the word yes. I was in shock. One suicide was enough, but both parents was unthinkable. I felt such sorrow in my heart and such compassion and sympathy for Nancy. I had to take a few minutes to calm myself down. I just couldn't believe it. I'm sorry, Nancy, I don't mean to be graphic, but I need to give you what I get. Your dad shot talking to heaven 179 himself through his left temple. He says you know this. Is that right? Yes, I was the one who found him. I tried calling him all day, but he never picked up the phone, so I went to his house on the way home from work. I walked into his study and found him leaning back on his chair. His gun was lying on the floor below his arm. Oh, I'm so sorry. That is awful. Your dad says to tell you that he was wrong. He didn't know how to go on without your mother. He said he also didn't want to be a burden to you and John. You had your own lives. This is quite interesting. I have heard this before. Your dad is saying he didn't have to wait around too long over there because his life was close to an end anyway. What does he mean? I explained to Nancy that when someone commits suicide, he is still tied to earth until it is his natural time to die. Her father's lifespan would have been over soon. When he killed himself, the time left in the physical level was relatively short. I also conveyed to Nancy that her father was met by her mother. Nancy then asked, how could she? Your mother was on a slightly higher level in the spiritual world. Those on a higher level can indeed return to lower levels and assist others. How James Van Praagh 180 ever, the ones on a lower level cannot go higher until they have earned it. This idea seemed a bit perplexing to Nancy, but this was her first introduction into the metaphysical world. I reassured her that the more she studied metaphysics, the more the idea would make sense to her. Nancy, your dad wants me to tell you he is happy once again. He is with your mom. That makes me so happy. God, I was worried about him. I'm so happy he is okay, and they are together. Right. Yes, they are together. Funny, your dad is mentioning a lake, or a house on a lake. He says your mom has been watching him fish from a pier. I don't know what this means. I do. When I was a little girl, we had a summer house on a lake, and my father used to take us fishing at the pier. He taught me how to fish. Well, your father wants you to know he is in heaven. If dad is fishing, he is in heaven. With that, we closed the meeting and thanked the spirit people and our guides. I also added a special prayer for Nancy to use the information for her healing. I know my prayer was answered because as she was leaving, she turned to me, still with tears in her eyes, and said, James, first don't talking to heaven 181 know what to say. That was a miracle. I feel so light. I feel such peace. It's a peace I have been searching over 10 years for but was never able to find.
Soulmate, this is a part of Zindagi Ki Roshni consultancy. It has been established for those who have lost someone and for those who are very sad in their life. About 100 PDF books and 20 short audio books of this topic will be sent to those who join it. This data will be sent to their email or WhatsApp. If you want to join this organization, then please send WhatsApp message to this number.